Hey, train your plants every day. Jordan Scope coming at you from the STEM lab this morning. Now, I'll probably just do a regular vlog this morning. I know I've been getting big into the motivational psychology and safety and quantum mechanics in terms of managerial skills and just personal skill sets and development and things like that. You got to be going. You got to do it more for the personal safety side. You can't go too fast. That's that time management to motivation. Anything's possible, but it takes time and stuff like that. I know I've been moving right along with Johnson Roads, or at least I feel so anyways. It might be different, I don't know, but I really haven't had any bad products or bad pallets. Not when I say really, I mean none that I can say of anyways. I don't know what the customer thinks about that, but I have experience in this, so I know generally what I'm looking for and what they would look for and what I look for in good product when I would say, hey, I would put that in my house. So with those kinds of aspects, they've been jumping me around. They've tested me out on unloading their table saws and doing some basic general button pushing for their saws. I haven't quite programmed anything yet for their table saws yet, but I've wrote down notes and I've watched them do it a few times. I feel confident that if asked, I could probably do it. Usually for me, I bump around, bang around the first time, and then once you know well not to do anymore, that's pretty much it. You should have just about it memorized after that point. And then you got different dimensions to consider and measurements and stuff like that until you're really accustomed to it and stuff like that. But that don't take very long. Of course, thermaling and working different types of thermaling in their system, slabs, treads, whatever have you, pre-cut before it goes to a saw and after to finish out pallets and stuff like that. I worked their finishing area in terms of filling out pallets, reconsolidating. That stuff's pretty straightforward. It can be a pain in the ass to what's already done and doing the order. Sometimes it just doesn't come off. I got exactly what I need for the order and fill out the pallet. You get junky stone, you get variegated, you get the wrong color, you got blackjack to consider, so sometimes your cuts don't make out even if they're cut extra and stuff like that. So you just gotta put it in the yard, bring it back, put it on a couple of different pallets, and when it's ready, just organize it so it's nice and stuff like that. But always try your best to hit it first run, I know that. Beyond that, I guess they're gonna open up the tread shop here pretty soon, so that's pretty good. Like I said, they're gonna put me on that to be ripping ends and stuff like that. So I already know their tread line, and I've done all the other ones. If y'all remember any of my other Swag Incorporated book stuff, how I lay out the system and safety standards and just managerial and not only their tread shop with all the different pallets, but also the yard, whether it be the stock yard or finishing yard or where you put the finished stuff and stuff like that. I like to map all that out, whether it be here, and I like to know all that stuff, and I like to keep my system organized along with your bays, which even in a big building can get pretty out of control in a hurry. You know, you got a lot going on from 3-footers to 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, so on, out to 12 foot sometimes, depending on if the rock is good like that. And usually when you're always going your big stuff, you know, you can go from 12 footers right down to 3 and 5 footers, depending on if it has cracks in it, or, you know, with that being said, also brown sets. I don't think we're going to be working a lot of variegated right now. If that would go for stockyard or something like that, I don't know. You know, but that can get out of control hurry because, you know, you would think, oh, just lay it all out, pallet for everything. Well, it doesn't work that way. That requires a lot of space, you know, even on, you know, a huge line. You know, if you're dealing with 12-foot treads, sometimes you'll have 13, 14 foot long treads to be dealing with. One, bay doors aren't that size. You got to bring them in like that, and you got to consider, you know, a 3-foot pallet, you know, or a couple of them, depending on, you know, offset, because you can't get the forks into a 14-foot pallet. You know, how you got to set up that yard, you know. So, you know, usually given a straight line section and organizing down a little bit towards the front end to like 12s and 15, or 12s and 10s, 9s and 7s and 8s and 6s and 5s and 4s to manage that row as accordingly as possible. And then you always get one that never fits in, and you know, you're always your cut back rows. Usually you can get away with a couple of them depending on how deep you go, whether you get 1 or 2 setups or 3 deep, depending on how many rows you do. And that's the same kind of problem you have inside, but usually that inside stuff moves around a lot. You know, you gotta have pallets that come out and come back in, and all that other stuff. And like I said, you're working recuts, and you always got to work with your dumpster that's got to be close to your saw, which takes up 2 spaces because you can't bring it in and out, or you put a 3-footer there or something, you know, all that stuff. And not only that, they're gonna I don't know if I'll be doing that all the time. I imagine probably come midsummer or something like that, they'll have me doing some of that. But also, I'm jumping back and forth between buildings here pretty soon, to help them do custom, more of the higher end masonry, stone cutting. Not me doing the cutting, but the finishing work of it, which I like to do anyways. I'm more physical. I get a little complacent sitting around by a saw and just watching it grind. You know, I'm always cleaning, grinding, moving, doing something. You know, but that's mostly thermaling. You know, it is what it is. I'm sure. I know I got 2 orders coming up, and that's just got some thermaling and a special edge burn or something on it, and some face burns, which is the same process as everything else. Sometimes you got to work a new piece, or you know, burn a top because it didn't get burned right or something. And extra edges and stuff like that. But also, I think one of them's getting rock faced. Some of them are drills, where you take a tube drill with with the setup that they're using, and it's got a diamond bit on it, and you drill out holes into it, and probably pull out the core, chip out the core or something. And beyond that, like I said, a lot of rock facing. Now, rock facing is a really pretty thing. You know, it can be a pain in the ass. So, need a tool, make a tool. You know, so I got one right here. I had an old beat up square, or carpenter square here, and I think the tape measure fell off of it or something. So what I decided to do with it is I saw an old timer make one a long time ago. Of course, they were doing theirs out of stickers, and sometimes you have a problem with the ends when you're going towards like the end. So I had one of these, and I thought that would make a really cool one, because you can always just get right up to that edge and hold it straight across the edge. And what I did with it is I measured it all out. You know, I got my straight line where the bottom of it is here, and I measured off eighth, quarter, 3/4, half, and 5/8. Again, if it gets much heavier than that, you know, it is what it is. But generally, it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch, depending on certain things. Now, there's a couple of ways you can use this. You can stuff a nail down in there, or what I decided to do here was actually, because I had a few of these ones, and they're pretty heavy duty. They're good screws. Just these little guys here. Because you don't need much. You just need enough to put it to the edge and run it. But you know, this way the screw nail doesn't go running away on you. I drilled them out really nice, tight drill, so they're nice and clean, and just a little bit smaller than this, so I could actually tap it with this screw, and so I can just screw these in here now. And you know, you just hand screw them in there a little bit until they come out a little bit. Takes a couple of seconds. You don't need much. You just need enough to score it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it there. You just need enough to score it, and you run it down the edge, and then you take your set, which is a chisel, a cardboard tip chisel, and you just start going down the line. You come out. You always start off the edge about half the chisel length or set length, and you just keep it at an angle, and you pound down, and you chip out some of the edge there, and depending on how heavy the stone is, of course. You know, I've seen a lot of stuff done, and I've done a few myself. But you know, you can rock face block. You know, if you really want to. Sometimes it takes an extra set. You know, you have to chisel away some of the material before you come back and run it down a second line. But I'm not doing anything quite that heavy. I'm sure these are going to be whatever they're going to be. I don't want to get too much into the order details with you. But I saw the order form, and then it's getting cut again after that to set in as a counter and stuff like that. So some nice stuff, you know, and it's good to be working good stuff, you know, treads and pattern, and and just regular slabs and stuff like that. They're slabs are nice, but because they come in different sizes and shape to the need, but they can get pretty boring. It's the same thing always over and over again. So it's nice when you're doing the custom orders and stuff like that. Usually they're a little smaller, but there's a lot of different ones, and you always gotta kind of stay on your toes to what that order is. But I'm not doing the full sets. I'm not doing the full order models. I'm probably just finishing them. Doing the finishing work. Somebody else will cut it for me, and once I do some work to it, some of these pieces will get cut again, and I'll be drilling them, thermaling them, rock facing them, doing the finishing work and stuff like that on them. So I like doing that stuff, so it don't bother me all that much. Those are those kinds of processes. Anybody can thermal, anybody can really work the saws and work the station. But when you get those kinds of orders, you got to be really time efficient. You got to be time management wise, because you lose a bunch in the melee of it all. So if you're not one of those guys that can do that stuff, now that anybody couldn't do this project, especially when you give them a rig like this, you just bang, 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 instead of having to pull out your tape measure. That's where you got to be quick with it and stuff, because it's every one of them, and then lay it out with your tape measure, and it can be a pain in the ass. Little things like this go a long, long way, and actually bringing them into the game and stuff like that. So it makes a big difference in my rock facing jig, in case I didn't say it before. That kind of stuff is what I'm talking about, that makes a big difference. Not being afraid to make good time on your pallet setups and your station setup, to make sure you're not walking all over the place, getting your hoses and your torches and your tools, your drills, your chisels and sets and everything. Your hammer, everything. That stuff's got to be where it's supposed to be all the time in your working station. And if you're good with that, and you like that kind of stuff, this is a good kind of job for that kind of personality. But it's not for everybody, and it's just one of those things I like to do with it. And even more so, it's not for everybody, but even people who do have that kind of set, you got to be efficient about this kind of attitude about these kinds of projects. If you just like to produce, I'd say put you on a saw, or put you on a thermaling system, or even the tread line or something like that. You got to have the mentality and the intelligence to kind of set up your system and keep your space clean and work different areas and have all that stuff down. Be a ruler, just play with it a little bit. You got to be good about that, and not make a mess when you do it. So that's in the Mason game, it's more of the for me, again, you can produce all day, and any one of those can tap into a real hardcore Mason or a master or whatever you want to call it. But I always consider that takes time, a few years at least developed in any given place, and overall 5-10 years in any place all together, mixed up, before you can really consider yourself that. So I got a little bit more time to go, but I certainly believe I have the skill sets and the mentality for it. But staying power is not something I've been known for. Usually I leave, but probation, the world, it'll just fucking kick you in the nuts every time. So anyways, need a tool, make a tool, was a good note I wanted to put in here. And some of those other development, I'll be jumping around different shops, and I'll probably have to do some yard management. I know we're going through a lot of the yard stock and cleaning up the place right now, which I've done in a couple other places. A lot of that stuff isn't just when you think about managerial into places and what I've done in other places. Yeah, you gotta produce, but also you gotta clean and develop all those places and things like that. When I say develop, I mean develop your system. Personally into this integration. Usually it's there, and you got to figure it out to get it there and keep it there. And Johnson and Rhodes is a big motherfucker when it comes to, I done S&S, I cleaned that place up. Devonian was a good size, medium, big one, but Johnson and Rhodes is definitely by far one of the bigger ones. So hopefully this is that kind of one that's going to take me all spring to do. It's not just going to be a couple of weeks, come in, get one guy doing this, plus I'll be doing orders and stuff like that. And, it is what it is. We got good managers, they gave me good lead, good safety system in there, so that's cool. And I don't really know Pete, but he keeps the fucking ship running, you know. He keeps it floating and going, so that's always good, you know. And he's been there running that way for a while, so I'll give that to the guy. And we'll see how it goes in the next couple of, you know, whatever videos. I'll give you the full tutorial, tell you I got it all cleaned up and things are running great. We're the fucking dream team around here. Or it's about to crash and burn, which I can't allow to have happen. So, catch you on the next one.